Hey, Patrick here in Taos, New Mexico. New Mexico being a majority-minority state, a very interesting place where Latino people live for close to 400 years and Native people live for over 1,000 years at the least. So the standards, commonalities of social oppression between homophobia, ableism, religious bias, Islamophobia, and anti-Semitism is that these identities describe less than 10% of the human population and likely even less of your students. At one time, it did describe 100% of the people who signed the U.S. Constitution were able to vote at the time of our nation's founding. And these forms of oppression are harmful to our students because they imply that individuals who don't check these boxes are either defective in some way or not worthy of our time, attention, and care, or not able to attain the full expression of their rights, responsibilities, and privileges. The forces of oppression here are not merely, the second commonality is that they're not merely limiting attitudes and harmful speech directed at individuals by individuals, but they've been codified in laws systematically that have prevented the full expression of whole groups of individuals with these identities. For example, Executive Order 10450 of 1953 banned LGBT people from federal employment based upon the now discredited notion that they were security risks to the national security of the USA. And of course, there's countless other ways their rights have been restricted, from not being able to marry, visiting ill spouses, enjoying survivors and insurance benefits, and so on. Racial bias has been codified from the beginning with slavery and the 3/5 clause of the Constitution, all the way to 20th century redlining racial covenants, which has led to separate but unequal access to education and healthcare and political services, and the loss of intergenerational wealth from the rising of the real estate market in the 20th century, where Black, Chinese, and other groups have been excluded from those gains. Religious bias, we see that incredibly Native American people weren't allowed to openly practice traditional ceremonies and their religion until 1978 with the passage of the American Indian Religious Freedom Act. That's crazy. And here in so-called Indian country, people are very aware of that. Anti-Semitism, the religious bias manifests unwillingness to accept Jews seeking to silence the Nazis. And today we see that in attacks on synagogues and casual racism. Islamophobia is the one that's really burning right now. That's sort of the newest, brightest front in American oppression. Basically, long story short, Arab, Muslim individuals have had their loss of liberty on a large sense, and that other groups haven't experienced, such as the ability of the U.S. to do extraordinary rendition, to kidnap individuals without being charged, and to deprive them of their liberty and to move them to a CIA black site in foreign countries, or even to just kill them outright without charges, as we've seen in the case of Abdul Rahman, who was a 16-year-old U.S. citizen who was murdered by a drone strike at a cafe in Yemen, who hadn't been charged with anything. Third commonality about this is that we see this affects our students, and it's up to us to make sure that every student is valued and this is not perpetuated.